In this short module, we're going to take a quick introduction to mobile apps. So a mobile app is actually any app that runs on a mobile device. It typically runs on a smartphone. Unlike a web app which runs in a browser, a mobile app runs directly on the operating system. A mobile app may not actually need to connect to the internet to work. For example, games are also mobile apps and they might not need to connect to the internet to allow the user to play the game. Unlike a web app which is used by going to a particular website or a domain name, a mobile app is typically downloaded from official app stores. So popular mobile operating systems today are Android, iOS and Windows 10. Some older mobile operating systems that used to exist are BlackBerry OS, Palm OS, Bada and Symbian for Nokia. If you remember the client-server architecture, we have the client on the right that makes a request through the network to the server and the server responds back through the network. So that was the client-server architecture that we've understood in a fair amount of detail so far. A traditional web app works as follows. So on the left, there is a web app that is making a request to the web server on the right. The first thing the browser is used for is making a page request. So we say, for example, let's go to google.com. So it requests a particular page. The web server responds only with HTML data. The HTML contains links to JavaScript and CSS files. So the browser parses that HTML, figures out that it needs to make requests to JavaScript and CSS files, makes those requests to the web server. The web server responds with those particular static files and the browser injects those files into the context of the HTML page that it has created so far. Or the web app source code might make further API requests to the web server and the web server would respond with responses typically in JSON or XML. And this is the way that a page can dynamically load data and it does not even need to refresh as the user browses the particular page or uses the app. So for example, if you use modern applications like Gmail and Facebook, you will notice that the pages almost never go through a full refresh and all of the content keeps changing while the user is on that same page itself. A mobile app works a little differently. In the case of a mobile app is downloaded on a mobile phone. A mobile app already has the UI code, so it does not need to make a request to the web server to fetch the UI code. However, a mobile app may make API requests to the web server and the web server will respond with data that the mobile app can use to change its content dynamically. So Gmail and Facebook apps have the UI inbuilt into the app, but they contact the web server to fetch emails or fetch new items from the news feed, which requires an internet connection. So the technical differences between a mobile app and a web app can be listed as follows. A web app runs in a browser, whereas a mobile app runs directly on the operating system. The app fetches UI code from a web server and the UI code is written in HTML, CSS and JavaScript. On a mobile app, the app contains the UI code. So for Android, the code is written in the Java language and for iOS, code is written in Objective-C or the Swift language. Web app UI can be updated instantly. So for example, if you want to update what a page looks like, all we need to go and do is change the endpoint that is handling that particular page and that way the UI will get updated instantly. However, mobile apps cannot be updated automatically by the developers. The user has to update the app or has to tell the App Store to automatically update the app and only then will the new UI sort of be available to the user. In web apps, the app is sandboxed from the operating system. So that means that the web app can only access those resources that the browser allows the web app to access. However, in a mobile app, the mobile app can access all resources that the operating system allows. So for example, sensors, GPUs, external devices, all of these are possible for a mobile app to access. Practically, this boils down to quite a few differences between a mobile app and a web app. Most web apps are easy come, easy go, meaning it's very easy for users to visit a web app, use it, and then they'll forget about the web app as well. However, mobile apps have to be downloaded and installed. That means that it's much harder to get users to use a mobile app because there's a lot of friction or inconvenience in going and downloading an app. This has business implications. Mobile apps today have a smoother UI and UX, especially because they are able to use device hardware, especially when the app uses device hardware or sensors. But the gap between the experience of a mobile app and web app is steadily narrowing as browsers on the mobile become much better. The most popular types of mobile apps for a generic consumer are games or apps that are used every day, not apps that are used occasionally. For example, the web browser is a mobile app, Facebook, WhatsApp, apps like Uber and Ola. These are used very frequently and these kinds of apps are very popular candidates for mobile apps. Building and maintaining a mobile app is significantly harder than a web app. So if we are developers in a team that is building a mobile app, we should think about the use case very, very carefully. We should make sure that the target consumer that is using the mobile app derives a huge value. So even if the mobile app is not being used every day, the value that is provided from the mobile app should be immense. So for example, Shazam is a mobile app that allows you to take your phone and listen to a song that is playing on a speaker, and the app tells you the song that is playing. In case the amount of value that is provided by the mobile app is not huge, we should at least make sure that our target customer will be using the mobile app at least once a day, so that the user does not feel like deleting the mobile app from his or her phone. Now, these points that I have talked about so far are more business and product development related points, and these points might change in the future as mobile phones become better and as browsers become better. Key points to take away from these quick sets of points are to understand that in principle we have a clear understanding of what a mobile app looks like. We also know what a mobile app should look like. So for example, we know that if the mobile app has a UI component, it must have some equivalent of HTML, CSS that allow us to write the UI. We know that a mobile app, if it has features that provide interactivity to the user or talk to the server to fetch data, they must have the equivalent of on-click handlers that we used in JavaScript, or must have an equivalent of AJAX and HTTP requests. So the same principles apply to a mobile app as a web app. However, the programming language and the environment is a little different. In some of the next few practical modules, we'll be taking a look at some Android and iOS code and what the experience of building a mobile app is like.